Let's begin by going back to the 80s with the release of a miniseries called Voyage of the Mimi. This was a 13-episode TV program following the adventures of a boat crew of scientists exploring the ocean and taking a census of humpback whales off of the coast of Massachusetts. Interestingly, this was actually the film debut of Ben Affleck. So, a lot of you may have watched this in school. If you did, congratulations, you were part of a psychological experiment. You see, this show was created by the Bank Street College of Education, formerly known as the Bureau of Educational Experiments, in order to teach kids about science and math by integrating explanations of real-world applications of math and science into the context of entertainment. Infotainment. So this is from Wikipedia. Each video segment has accompanying student and teacher handouts or worksheets. 4 software modules are available that covered topics and skills in navigation, map reading, computer literacy and programming, the elements of ecosystems, and the natural environment of whales. Each second segment is a standalone exploration of one of the scientific principles touched on in the serialized tale. For example, there is an episode where the plot is about obtaining drinkable water, and over the course of the episode, the viewer is also given lessons about condensation, heat, and the 3 states of matter.
Is that why I can't remember anything about Cyberchase?
So that's pretty cool, right? Well, yeah, but if you can subliminally influence kids to learn math and science, what else can you get them to integrate? Well, turns out, a lot. Kids are very stupid. Their brains are so small. So I have to be circumspect about this because a certain platform really doesn't like it when anyone brings it up, but this is the kind of thing that may be an interesting lens to through which to view examples of weird, disturbing kids content. The idea of being able to subconsciously incept ideas into people's minds in a way that makes people think they came up with it themselves is not really anything new, but we have gotten significantly better at it. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to flash a bunch of shapes and colors on the screen real quick, and I want you to just pick one of them. Also, epilepsy warning. There's going to be flashing lights for a few seconds. Close your eyes now. You can open them once the noise stops. 3, 2, 1. Bet you picked blue triangle, didn't ya? So there is an enormous incentive to misuse this technique. For example, to sow doubt and hesitation in enemy troops, to subvert chain of command, to reduce morale and promote the questioning of leadership. This right here is the underlying basis for the entire field of psychological operations, or Psyops. Another field that relies upon subconscious manipulation is advertising. Speaking of advertising, this video is brought to you by OKSoft, developers of independent survival horror video game Coffin Mall. It's set in a dead mall, which as a location I actually really like. I think it has a unique and interesting vibe to it. It's survival horror, so presumably you were hunted by something. Now, as far as graphics go, in addition to having them, it has a style that is visually reminiscent of something like LSD Dream Emulator for the PS1, or Alone in the Dark, the original one, for the computer. One thing that I can say is that while I'm not really much of a gamer myself, I don't really play that many video games, including this one. I have not played this game. I have looked at it, but I have not played it. What I am is that I am an aesthete who bears the burden of taste, and I would like to point out and give props to the fact that this does actually look like a legitimate early 90s video game, instead of what most retro games nowadays do, which is this weird sort of anachronistic mishmash of, like, I don't know, like a 2007 era graphics, but just running at 320 by 240 with, like, the PS1 wiggle jiggle filter on. Like, God, that really makes me angry. But yes, this doesn't do that. This actually looks like a real old school game. What else am I supposed to be saying here? Oh, yeah, key codes. Yeah, I'm giving away key codes for this game. You can buy it wherever video games are sold, which means Steam. The link is in the description. Coffin Mall. Now, this has all been 1980s era stuff so far. What happens when this merges with modern tech dystopia? What happens when the keys to consciousness get handed over enough that we can create things that don't affect the majority of the population, but act as a cognitohazard for a hyper-targeted subset? Well, thankfully that seems really hard to do, right? Yeah, or at least it was. But thanks to the great work being done in Silicon Valley right now, we've put that ability into the hands of everyone in the world via proliferation of AI. And guess what? Reverse engineering ways to induce emergent properties of consciousness is the kind of thing that AI is really good at, for once. It doesn't know why it works. All it knows is that it works. But that's all you need. Meme war. It's coming. It's bad. Allow me to demonstrate. This has been an experiment of sorts that I've kind of been running. Now, this started off without really a clear intention, just sort of pressing buttons for the hell of it, but gradually morphed into an idea. And now I have a lot of fun on Twitter. And by fun, I mean get yelled at a lot. Anytime I made a Twitter post that sounded reasonable to about 99% of people and inexplicably induced profound rage in the remaining 1%, recent example being saying that it's bad to throw used syringes on the sidewalk, I started creating a database. I would include the tweet itself, the angry responses, the link to the account posting the angry responses, and then save the dataset under the name of the category of the people it made angry. Pretty soon, I started building up a nice little database. What do I do with the database? Well, then I can just use a script to ask an AI to pull the tweets of the accounts linked and create a cumulative psychological profile. And then use that in conjunction with the tweet that really pissed off them and only them to create more tweets that would do the same thing. And just like that, you now have a fake account that seems completely innocuous and normal to almost everyone, but drives certain subsets of people absolutely insane. Meme war. It's coming. It's bad. Now, memes can be forces for good. They're not really inherently destructive. They're a tool that can be leveraged for any goal someone has, and have to be analyzed morally on the basis of that. You know, they're kind of a meta object, if you will. Memes have been the primary basis for politics since the beginning of time, albeit mostly subconsciously. There's an argument to be made that the first person to really understand what we were working with in this regard was Steve Bannon. Slippery Steve. So think back to the 2016 election, if you're old enough to remember it. If you were lurking in the kind of swamps of political analysis, you might remember the phrase meme magic. The common refrain, "the left can't meme," is something that I think is increasingly underestimated in its importance in the modern political landscape. The absolutely useless strategists for the Democratic National Convention over the last 8 years have consistently seen that and gone, "Oh yeah, you mean like the little pictures with the funny text on them? Let's hire 1,000 people and pay them $200,000 each per year to make 50,000 pictures that say Kamala is Brat." No, you dummy. It's saying that the left fails to utilize self-replicating ideas the way the right does, and continuously gets duped into just trying to bring fact-checkers to the fact-checkers are lying fight. Also, sometimes the fact-checkers were in fact lying, but that's neither here nor there. So, for a more malevolent example of something that spreads memetically, look at racism. See, if you attach a racist meta-object, for example, the idea, "Oh, it's because black people are bad," to something that recurs throughout life, every time someone witnesses that thing happen, they have both the association with the meta-object strengthen, and they become more racist. So how do you defeat a racist meme? An anti-racist meme. And before any of you do anything, I'm almost certain that what most of you are thinking right now would effectively make people more racist. So let me provide an example. Just hold your horses. Let's take the phenomena of the racial distribution of the United States being clearly visible throughout basically every polarized good/bad map ever. Any map of the United States that's, rates of health issues, poverty, crime, early death, whatever. And let's take the meta-object that is attached to it currently, this is because black people are bad, why you can see the geographic distribution of race in the country, and replace it with, this is because basically every root problem in the United States stems from the root cause of slavery and the failure of Reconstruction, and these are the second and third order effects of that massive scar. Now, the second idea is a bit wordy. so we'll just trim it to end at slavery and the failure of Reconstruction. That's now a more manageable idea. Now, let's wait for someone to post the map. Wait for a bunch of guys to go, haha, guys, it's the map. You know what that means. And then jump in with the following. All maps are the same map because nearly every problem in the US can be traced back to a root cause of the failure of Reconstruction. Now, let's go see who liked that. And boom, right into the spiderweb. A bunch of left-wing people, obviously, but Groyper, racist guy, right-wing guy, Groyper, racist guy. You get the drift. It's something that they engaged with because of the pre-existing compatible infrastructure for the concept. Now, let me go into what I just did. Well, what I did was I used racist infrastructure to backdoor the concept of critical race theory to a massively unreceptive audience. I also just used an explanation of that process to backdoor it to you. Yes, also, by the way, this is what critical race theory is. This is what you are all so wrapped around the axle about your kids getting taught. So, this video has been in the works since December of 2024. It originated as a video setting out to compare the payouts for posting a month of left-wing takes versus a month of right-wing takes. My thesis was that Twitter was paying out higher for right-wing content. Now, as it turned out, this was not actually the case. However, I did begin to notice presence of phenomena that I couldn't quite wrap my head around, so I did what everyone really should start doing more frequently, which was began building a loose database in Excel. Now, this was complicated by the fact that I wound up attracting my own personal Frank Grimes. Evidently, something about me really tweaked a nerve for him. He rebuffed any and all attempts at civil discussion and made it clear he'd already decided to kamikaze himself into me. Crabs in a bucket, I guess. You want to know how I approach hostage negotiations? Like Russia. Remember section 3 of this video? Analyzing extreme outlier reactions to things and the people in whom those reactions were observed, in order to reverse engineer what caused them. Well, I added something. So something that AI is very good at doing, but people are very bad at consciously picking up on, is mimicking writing style. Now, I can finally reveal something that I've been itching to for a while. You know those posts on Twitter that you kept making fun of? The ones making some pretty rudimentary philosophical point in like kind of a pretentious pseudo-intellectual way? You know why those got under your skin so much? Do you have a horrible sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach? It's you, Jay. It's written in your voice. The logical points were designed to annoy you, but those points were translated into actual writing by an instance of Claude trained on writing samples from you. Not from your Twitter, no. This is trained on comments that I saved from your now deleted Reddit account, and your many posts in the Subliminal Jihad Discord server. It's about to get turned into the Subliminal Salt Pit. I call this Liquid J. It's you, but stronger. So, originally there was going to be a segment here kind of laughing off the beef and offering a truce once again for like the millionth time. But due to recent events that have transpired, that is no longer an option. So instead, what I'm going to say is, Jay, you are doomed. Now, it's funny, that song that was playing during that montage was actually what wound up getting me doxxed, I believe. So, useful OPSEC tip, if you have any music out, remember to check the credits. But hey, it gives me an excuse to chill out on the main channel at least. So I'm gonna close this video out with another song, because it feels relevant. It's called I'm Better.